Good morning, everyone. This is John Cagle with Selltis. Welcome to our demonstration today, our Coffee with Selltis session about the basics of dashboard management and setting up views on our desktops. Today we really want to focus on some of these basics with the idea that, of course, you'll be creating dashboards and views so that you can put the data you need in front of you to take action. As always, we're about working the data rather than working to put data into Selltis. So we want to display data at a glance that will help you manage your business. Questions that you should be asking yourself include, what is it that I should be managing that I'm not? And can I take action directly from the dashboards that are presented to me or that I present to my users? And so let's start preparing to lay out some of these dashboards, and hopefully you'll get some ideas on how you can use your Selltis tool more effectively. So we're always talking a little bit about making sure that we're earning a return on investment when we're building dashboards. And we want to use these dashboards to find out what has worked for us, whether that be for a particular manufacturer that we work with, or whether it be for a product line or a division, or perhaps what hasn't been working. Why am I losing revenue or not able to close deals in a particular territory? And then, of course, we're looking to see how we're spending our time to see if that's effective. Always on dashboards, we can think about either trend analysis. Is that line going up or is that line going down? Versus goals that we show in these views. Exception reporting is important too. Perhaps we want to see desktops where the opportunities are greater than a certain value so that we can really focus on target companies. Or perhaps we want to see some exceptions where we've seen a lack of activity that we might have expected, whether it was following up on a trade show or whether it was, again, for, say, quotes that were due to be closed or quotes that were due to be followed up on. So these are the types of things that I'm hoping to give you ideas about today as we work on building basic dashboards. So a little terminology, just so that we're on the same page. A desktop or dashboard, I think I use the terms interchangeably, are one or more lists of data. Those lists of data or views are often linked together. So for example, many of you are familiar with a mini views desktop where we have a company or a product or a contact in the master view, and the data in the related views changes as we select a value in the master view. So a view then is a list of data from any of the categories in Selltis, whether it be the ones that you often think of, such as opportunities or projects or quotes or quote lines or companies or contacts, or whether it's a little bit more in-depth, looking at division reports or location reports or branch reports. All of these are added in view properties for that desktop only. All right, a couple of setup things for you if you are an administrator or an individual user. First of all, know that the individual user can set up personal options to display a particular desktop when they start Selltis in the sales version. So when the program starts, display this desktop, or I should say, when Selltis Mobile starts. So if you are a Selltis Mobile user, you could set a separate desktop for when that product loads, say on your iPhone. The user can also manipulate the particular desktop nodes that are available to them. And they do this also from Tools, Personal Options. And you will see there's a setting here for desktop nodes. And the list of commonly used desktop nodes or shared desktop nodes can be appended, or you can insert a new node using this Personal Options display. And I'll demonstrate that as we get into looking at the demo database. The basic idea is the user can insert, append, and label a new desktop node and then begin to put their own desktops under that node. In addition, the administrator can set in workgroup options the default startup desktops shown here. So for, again, the work group as a whole, the default startup desktop for the sales version might be something like company mini views. And for the mobile version, it might be something like either the user's last selected desktop, or it could be, say, ops MITRE review. Put that hot information right in front of the user when they're out mobile with, say, their iPhone or with their Android device. The administrator also can use workgroup options to set up who sees certain desktop nodes. So once the desktop nodes are created for you by Selltis that are shared, then the administrator can, for example, say, you know, for management reports or dashboards or vendor analysis desktop nodes, I may only show that to a select group of logins. And so your Selltis team, the support team can help you with those settings too. But no, that's available to you for displaying data for certain users to make their life a little less cluttered and allow them to focus on what they need to. All right. Moving on then, we'll talk about making a desktop here. In Selltis, the easiest way to make a new desktop is to copy one that is similar. But know that there certainly is a new button in the menu. We get to this particular menu for editing desktops as a whole, not views, but desktop as a whole, by coming to the bottom of the desktop panel and clicking on All Desktops. Once we do that, again, we see this list for this particular database. There's 206 desktops shown, and we can begin to make a new desktop. So in this particular case, you would say, you know, I want a Projects Mini Views desktop, but I don't want to use the same one that is already in the database. So I am going to duplicate that desktop and make a new one. If I have permission, if I have permission to share desktops for the entire company, for the entire work group, then the option is available to me to place that desktop in a particular node and to, again, share it out to everyone. If I don't have permission to share desktops for the entire work group, then you can see that I can still create desktops, but the word shared will not be on this list. It will be unique to my private login. And again, we're going to go into a demo database and demonstrate this in just a second. Once I've created the desktop, you can see that I have 3 areas in which to put views. Column 1, column 2, and then tab views. So I think most of you may be familiar with the concept of what is the difference between a tab view and a mini view, but let me demonstrate briefly. You're used to looking at a desktop, for example, such as company mini views, where we would see a list of companies, a list of contacts, a list of activities, opportunities, projects, quotes, all in this main area above the tab views. In that case, the mini views area height would be 100%. And the columns may have their width allocated typically evenly, 50-50. So in order to adjust those things, we simply type in these little fields right here and then hit recalc. In some instances, though, we have a lot of data that sometimes we don't need to see at a glance. And in that case, we may want to make more of a tab views kind of desktop. So that tab views desktop may have a short mini views area at the top, in this case, a master view of products. And then the tab views may have ops by product, activities by product, quote lines by product, or similar. And this is a little less available to us because we have to click from tab to tab when we get to the desktop. But it may be a way to display quite a bit of data based on a master view that the customer, our user, really might not use on an everyday basis. So here's a demonstration then of that particular desktop. Let me page back up. You see we have a master view of products and then a number of tab views. So in this case, the products are above the tabs. We don't have other mini views across the top. And then the user would go from, say, opportunities by product in the master view, activities by product, quote lines by product, etc. All right, and just to continue that then, here is just another shot of the same information. And we are, just to reiterate, recalculating the mini view area height or the column 1 and column 2 width calculation. Now, let's get into actually adding views onto a desktop. You see on the right that I've circled with column 1 highlighted that I want to put another view onto this desktop. And I really have two options. It does say duplicate here in the list. That functionality has not been implemented yet by our development team, but we can certainly insert or append an additional view into one of the three areas. And again, in this case, I have column 1 highlighted here. So I will be putting a new view into column 1. Once I hit either insert or append putting the value of my new view at the end of the list, I then am taken to this type of interaction, this type of user interface where it says what kind of view or which category are you looking to add on. And so this is a list that starts with activity log and goes all the way down to terms and conditions or whatever the last alphabetical value is, translation, to do, what have you. This is a list of the various categories in Selltis for which I can add a view. When I choose one of the values, whether it be opportunity view, activity view, contact view, or in this case a to-do view, then Selltis asks me, do I want to just create a basic list of to-dos? Or, to make my life a lot easier, can I copy an existing view that may be similar from another desktop to what I need on this desktop that I'm editing? And almost always you'll choose copy existing view. Then you actually have two more options, and those would be to say, all right, you're copying an existing view from another desktop. Do you want to sort what's available from a desktop perspective or from a desktop name perspective or from a view name perspective? And so the list would give you a value to choose from. You simply highlight it. Once you highlight it, the name of it is reiterated here, and then you hit OK. All right, so what we want to do then is take this brief overview into our demo database. I've printed myself a bit of an outline so that I have this available to you, and we'll go through these steps in a real database, a real demo database, I should say. So here I'm working with my jk.selltis.com database here. And I have a particular desktop in front of me. And we'll go through and edit that in just a second. But let's go back through some of these setup steps here so that you can remember where they are. So first, under the Tools, Personal Options menu, you can see that I can display a particular desktop on the load of the regular sales product, which is most often what we're talking about, or in Selltis Mobile, I can separately display a particular desktop. Now, remember when I'm working in personal options, almost always I have to hit this load button in order for me to see values in the drop-down list. And I could choose a different desktop based on my login, regardless of what the work group is looking to do. So I may say, you know what, I want to see just a list of all of the quotes when I first come into Selltis. Or when mobile starts, again, remember to hit the load button here. I may want to see, you know what, what's hot for me? I may have a priorities desktop, or I may have, say, Ops My to review is something I should see. So I pick up my phone as I'm, getting my morning coffee at Dunkin', and I say, oh yeah, I'm going to work on these 3 things above and beyond what I know in my head that I've scheduled to do for today. Or by looking at my calendar, I know that in addition to the 3 appointments that I have, I should be working on those 4 opportunities and see if I can move those along in the sales process. So that is how the individual user displays their default desktops. If you're an administrator, you can come to Admin Workgroup Options, and you can see, as I displayed in my PowerPoint presentation, default startup desktop options. Again, you need to load these lists, and once you do, you can set the default for the work group as a whole. Again, remember that the individual user can overwrite that. And even if you were to reset it, the user's preferred login desktop will still stick. All right, so hopefully that's helpful for you. Let me cancel out of that for a second and go back to Tools, Personal Options. We had discussed also desktop nodes. And you can see that I've made a couple of my own desktop nodes right here. And in order to make another one, I can simply either insert where I'm highlighted here or append. So I may come in right here and insert a new desktop node, which will be named, say, Demo 040214, just so I can remember to delete it when I'm done. And then I simply hit Apply. You'll see that I have a new one here. Hit Save. Doesn't show up here yet until I refresh, the little refresh button for the desktop panels right here. And now you can see I have a new node, but the new node does not have any desktops under it, and that's why the little plus there is not shown. Okay. Also, we remember that under Workgroup Options, if you are an administrator and have permission, you can also come in and work on desktop nodes from this perspective also. And again, if you have permission, you could say, for example, for dashboards, I want to hide from all users or only show to the management group. I have one login group here that you can use. Please note that you'll just need to work with Selltis support a little bit to set up these login groups. For those of you who are administrators, there's a lot of new functionality for you to be able to manage those login groups and manage your logins and manage passwords and all of those types of things, which you, up until about 6 weeks ago, did not have permission to do. Now you can, and I'll ask you to work with support in order to get that help document and have them walk you through the first time. So we could certainly take this away from all users except for those that are in the management group by using this type of selection list in the workgroup options. Okay, just flip through my notes here to make sure I'm not forgetting anything before we start to work on duplicating the dashboard, and I think I'm all set. So I'm going to work on this particular desktop here, and I can add a view or take a view out, but this particular desktop is about project mini views. As I click on one project or another, we should see the data in the various related views changing. So let's take a look at this desktop layout and see what's available to us. In order to get to the desktop editor, again, you can simply use this value here in the desktop panel for all desktops. I'll click on that, and then you'll see that the desktop that I was using or was on is highlighted. And in this case, I can simply hit Edit to view the layout. I have two factors up here, General and Layout. General just tells us which node it's under and the name, and then which product, sales or mobile or both, and if it's shared or not. Layout has almost the same information with the addition of showing the ability to work with a date range selector by default, and then as we discussed, these three places to put are the various views that we want to work with on our desktop or dashboard. So we could say, for example, in column 2, I don't really want this to-dos view anymore, and I can remove it. And simply I'd be all set. I'm going to hit cancel for right now and go backwards just a little bit. One of the things that we said we might want to do is find a desktop that we think is similar to what we have in mind to build. So you can see I've actually done that here twice over as I got ready for this presentation. But you would say, you know what, I can take this desktop, and I'm not real good at working with desktops and views yet, so maybe I'll duplicate it rather than wrecking that first one. And I will choose just a new name for it. We can share it if you have permission or not, and you could put it under a particular node right here. I'll put it under our new demo 0402 node, and then simply hit create. Oops. It's asking me for a new name. We'll just go something like that, just for demonstration purposes, and you'll see that we have a new desktop. Now, it's exactly the same as the desktop that we copied it from, and now we may come and edit it. So in order to demonstrate adding views or taking views out, I simply will take this to-dos view out of the desktop. So I'm highlighting it by clicking on it. You can see that column 2 is highlighted here, and then I'll hit remove. And then once I hit save, and then open, you'll see that the to-do view that I had is gone. By the way, this desktop is under our new node. We just need to refresh here or log out and log in. And we see our new desktop, Demo 4 is available to us. Now, we want to demonstrate again how to add views back into a desktop. And so we will simply go to the desktop editor. I'll hit all desktops. Excuse me, again, the desktop that I was working with is highlighted here. And I will hit edit. And then I'm going to put that to-dos view back on my tab views instead of column 2. Again, we can either insert or append. Append puts it at the end of the list. And then we choose what type of view it is. So I mentioned anything from activities in the A's to vendor on the V, on the Z end, if you will. And I am going to choose to put a view about to-dos into this particular desktop. Now, I have two options, as I explained. One is to create a basic view. I don't want just a plain list of to-dos. I want to copy an existing view that might have some more fields in it than I typically would use. And I could go down to, say, project mini views. Oh, here's one that's about to-dos that are about projects. I'll choose that one. Here, then the name verifies which which view you're adding to the desktop, and I'll hit OK. All right, so you can see my desktop here has now my new to-do list right here in the tab views. I had hit append, and it put it at the end of the list. So to-dos by status and due date is now on my Project Mini Views Demo 4 desktop. Now I'll hit save. We'll come over to the desktop panel and just refresh. So our desktop now should include this to-dos list at the end of the tab views. And then, of course, we would need to come in and edit this view to make sure it does what we needed it to do. And I'll do that quickly now, although it's been the subject of our other sessions which we've had in the last few weeks. So we'll just simply highlight our to-do view. We edit a view in View Properties. Remember, we edit a desktop as a whole by going to All Desktops. So for the View Properties, in this case, this is a list of all the to-dos in my demo database. I will filter, insert a condition, and we will look for a connection between the to-do and a related project of the master view. We choose a selected record in a linked view, almost selected record in a master view. Hit OK. And hit OK. And then save and apply to make a permanent change. And now we would click on one project or another to see if we have any to-dos related to them. We do have 5 to-dos related to this third project here in our database. So we did cover linking views together in a previous session, and you can see those recordings on Selltis.com on the training page, and then go to videos, and you'll see what we're talking about. And I will post this video very soon for your use in working with those other types, working with the other presentations that I've made available on the website. So back to the end. I hope this is giving you some ideas about basic desktop management and what's available to you. I'm available to you. Support is available to you for some of these basic setups. Here's my contact information. John K at Selltis.com, and then 985-231-1068 is available to you. I would say that on www.selltis.com, if you go to the training page, you will see some training documents that outline the very things that we've been talking about here, particularly the desktop interface and then date range selectors, which we didn't get a chance to talk to you about today, and then some of the other topics we've been talking about, filtering and sorting over the last few sessions. I very much appreciate your time today, and hope that you have a great day. Take care.